Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Sasquatch Speaks. I am Sasquatch, otherwise known as Gavisas, coming to you for the second week in a row with more than one, or more with, or words and things and stuff outside of my normal recording schedule. I know today was supposed to be Duramboros. I have, however, been having quite some difficulty getting that recorded due to a sudden illness which has come upon me. It's just like a really bad cold, but it is sufficient that my normal lack of skill has been compounded to the point where I am having difficulty even completing the quest. As well as all sort of other recording issues and things like that, which just tend to make my life miserable beyond all comparison. So for the time being, there's going to be a pause on the Monster Hunter videos. There won't be one today, obviously, and there probably won't be one tomorrow. Hopefully, starting Monday, I can get back into a normal schedule because I'll hopefully have gotten through this sickness, whatever it is. Oh, it's so annoying. But yeah, fun stuff. Hopefully, you all will stay interested enough that you'll stick around. I don't think I have to worry too much about not having my regular schedule up. Just scaring people away. Especially since a lot of people have said that they actually like these sort of videos. So, with all of the introduction things out of the way, let's launch into today's topic. And today's topic is a little bit satirical. Most of mine are. This one perhaps a little bit more so than even normal. My grandfather, a number of years ago, moved down to Ohio. And I'm from Michigan, so there's obviously a bit of rivalry there. U of M and Ohio State and all that. I personally, when I am in a sporting mood, tend to focus more on either our professional teams, which are basically all terrible. At least right now they are. And if they're not, then that just goes to prove how seldom an occurrence it is that I get into a sporting fervor. Because I really don't know. All I know is the big one, the Lions, are just awful and haven't had a winning season. Maybe last year was a winning season. I'm not really sure. Again, doesn't really affect me that much because I'm not that big into sporting. But as little as I am into sporting, I found it interesting when I went down to visit my grandfather a number of weeks ago. And it's something I've noticed before, but never really took that close of a look at, or really tried to reason out the ramifications of it. As I mentioned, between Ohio State and the University of Michigan, there's some bad blood. Let's put it that way. For whatever reason, the two colleges decided they do not like each other, and so in all of their sports teams, there exists what is known as a rivalry. For people who are not familiar with American football, my condolences. It's about the only sport, maybe hockey, about the only sport aside from like maybe hockey that I can actually tolerate watching for an extended period of time. Most everything else I just don't care enough about at all. So football's kind of my thing. If like I said, if I get a sporting fervor, I watch either football, and if that's not on, maybe hockey, and after that, I just really don't give two craps about anything. But while I was in Ohio, I noticed something. And I'm going to get to what I noticed in just a moment, but first I have to explain how it is here in Michigan. Now, during the season, it's a little bit more prevalent that when you walk into some sort of a store or some manner of shopping place, and you walk into the clothing section or even the outdoor section, there'll be a portion of it which is partitioned off for licensed merchandise, whether that's jerseys for a local team, or like I said, the colleges are really big, or the professional sports, the Tigers and the Lions and the Pistons and all that kind of stuff. There's a place for that, but it's usually relegated to like one or two racks, or if like in the middle of the season, like upwards of 3 or 4. However, when I went down to Ohio, I walked into a Meijer while I was there, I took a look around, and I happened to notice this 30 square foot section of the store, and it had one path going off to the left, one path going off to the right, and then both of those paths curved around, mimicking the horseshoe stadium that the Buckeyes play in. About 30 square feet of their entire store that was cordoned off specifically for Ohio State Buckeyes paraphernalia. Now, or like I said, I can understand in the middle of a season or something how there might be, some more out there. But to the best of my knowledge, there weren't any teams playing while I was there. I was down there over the 4th of July weekend, and like I said, to the best of my knowledge, there aren't any teams that play over the 4th of July. I can understand I could be wrong about that, and there are certainly exceptions. But so strange to me, because like I said, I'm from Michigan. Here in Michigan, we acknowledge that there's a rivalry, but it's not consuming. I mean, it was not just like, okay, well, that we have some stuff here. It was like in the middle of the store, 30 feet cordoned off on all sides, pathways sectioning it away so that nothing else came near the Buckeye stuff. And it wasn't just the Buckeye stuff. A good quarter of it was anti-Michigan or anti-University of Michigan stuff. And it's like, okay, I understand I understand that there's a rivalry that exists here, but at what point? And this is really my point here, because I tend to start with one thing and then jump off to something else. And this is the jumping off point. Everyone grab your seatbelts, strap in, and get ready for the ride. At what point does interest in a sports team become too much? I mean, like I said, I'm not a person who is very sports minded. I don't get heavily into who was hitting what this week. I think the Tigers are still playing somewhere, somehow. Not really sure. Don't really care. I know that the Lions have just started their preseason games, I think, last week. And like always, they're preparing to lose this season. They're not going to win. We all know this. It's just how things are here in Michigan. But that being said, there's a people, like I said, Michigan teams are not generally the best. I mean, college teams, we're pretty good. I will say that. Our college teams are pretty awesome. Across the board. Like I said, I know I root for Michigan State, but if U of M wins, I'm not going to, go rioting in the streets or anything. Because, they beat my team. Who cares? But when there are people who will do that. And I'm not just, throwing that out there as hyperbole. There are legitimately people who, if their team loses a game against someone, even against someone that they don't really care about, if they lose, they become, legitimately angry. And you cannot talk to them for, days afterward because of how angry they are that their team did not do well, or did not do as well as another team, or as well as they thought they should have, in some sort of contest which was put on for entertainment. And I just find that really disturbing, actually, that there are people who get so heavily invested in major sporting events that they will essentially throw out common reasoning and say, okay, well, I had nothing to do with their success, even so I had nothing to do with their failure. Their exhibition in this particular matchup was not to the best of their abilities, or maybe it was, and the other team was just better. Okay, it happened. Nothing I can do about it. It doesn't really affect me in any way, shape, or form. I'm going on about my life. I mean, that's my thought process. Even if I was more heavily invested in these games, which I think maybe a couple years ago I was really into. Like I said, I was really into Michigan State. That was several years ago when Drew Stanton was still the quarterback back then. So it's a little. I do understand a little bit of the fandom and wanting your team to do well, but there were games that we lost. There were games that we won that we probably shouldn't have while he was quarterback. And I'm like, okay, well, I see that. I understand that. I'm okay with that, and I will freely admit that we probably should not have won that game. And people will, you shouldn't have won that. I'm like, you're right. That was a bad call. And it immediately shut them up, and it was amazing. And I just get a little bit of joy out of doing that to people when they come at me with something that they think is this huge, amazing, powerful revelation. You shouldn't have done this, or something shouldn't have happened. You're right. What? You're right. That's total bullcrap. You are 100% right. And I'm okay with admitting when I'm wrong, or okay when admitting the truth of something. We won't talk about the Calvin Johnson rule, but that's another thing. Lions history, look it up. It's a thing. One time only. It was a thing, and it still hurts a little bit, but it's like, it doesn't really affect me. It doesn't really affect my way of life. It doesn't really affect my quality of life. Certainly, I don't really. Am I a little upset? Was I a little upset at the time? Was I like, this is bullcrap? Yeah, I was, but. Do I still dwell on it every day? No. Did I do an internet search and try and track down the ref who made that call? No. Am I ever going to do that? No. Should anyone else do that? Also, no. Because it doesn't matter. It's entertainment. It's like if Marvel put out a movie next week or whatever like that, and everyone was so excited for it, and they thought this was going to be the greatest movie ever, and you know what? It didn't meet everyone's expectations. It wasn't that good. People went to the theaters like, oh yeah, it's going to be the greatest thing ever, and oh, it wasn't. Oh, it's too bad. Let's riot! Come on, quick! Marvel put out a bad movie. Let's march on Disney World and tear down these Disney fools who've taken Marvel over and ruined everything. Let's do it. Come on. Let's march. Let's do this now. No. Don't do that. That's not rational thinking. Why would anyone think that is okay? And why do they think that logic should apply to sports teams? Why is it that we have massive portions of stores cordoned off to give homage to these teams who only play for a few months out of the year, either do well or do bad, and we have no effect over which way that outcome comes? Why is that? I don't know. Like I said, doesn't affect me, so I don't really care. But just something that was curious to me, so I thought I'd point it out. Throw it out to you, see if you guys have any sort of thoughts or opinions or ideas on that. Anything you've observed that seemed outlandish in that regard. If you have, leave it in the comments down below. If you liked the video, leave a like rating down below. If you didn't, leave a dislike rating and a nasty comment telling me to stop thinking so much about stupid crap. And yes, I will see you all tomorrow with another Sasquatch Speaks. Sorry again for not having Monster Hunter. Really, I cannot. I've tried. I've run that quest like 12 times in the last 24 hours. What with like practice and doing all kinds of other stuff, just has not worked out. I do apologize. I wish I could have been more effective. But as things stand, I'm just not going to be able to get that out. Also, I may have to point out that this will probably not be a high-quality video, but it's really just me talking, so it doesn't have to be. So, anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.